Hey, so it was clear you were pulling that out of your ass. Um, yeah, I highly recommend reading Animals in Translation by Temple Grandin. She's an autistic neurologist, and she's fascinated with neurology specifically to help explain autism for herself. And she's discovered a lot of things about differences between animals and humans and things like that. One of the first things she came up with is that humans generally have a very large frontal neocortex, whatever you want to call it, the new brain. Uh, it's you know it's much more developed than in any other animal, and unfortunately, it looks to be very structurally weak and not too efficient at what it does, and that's probably because it's not specialized, it's generalized, it's multi-purpose and multi-use. And the interesting thing is that most other signals in the brain go parallel to each other, and it's not to say that they're not parallel to the neocortex either, but most are parallel to each other. They eventually get to a certain point and they go to the brainstem, and then it goes to your body and your senses and you start doing things. But the neocortex, the frontal lobe, looks like most of what it does is process and affect information or signals coming from the rest of the brain, and does something with it, sends it back into the brain. And I think consciousness comes from the recording of this process being recorded into your memory. And the next time something stimulates your brain, and your brain starts sending signals around, and some signals inevitably end up in the neocortex. That neocortex also processes the information that the last information was recorded and processed and all that stuff, and so you become aware that you were aware, and hence you become cyclically under the impression of consciousness, which may or may not be false. I'm the type to say that if something isn't real just because it's done in chemicals, then nothing's real. So I actually think that consciousness actually does happen to be real. It's not to say that our experience of it is accurate, even remotely accurate, but it's a process that's occurring. It's an inaccurate interpretation, much like looking at our hands. Um, we have an understanding of what the object of our hand looks like, its functions, its things like that, but we're not seeing it for itself. We can't see the hair follicles, things like that. So we don't even really know what our hands are. And and that actually brings me to something else, that people are not actual they're not objects generally in the sense that we think. We're not a constituted, fully maintained things. We are pretty much the manifestation of our DNA, or a combination between that and the universe passing into the utility of our DNA and passing out of us. So we are literally dying and becoming reconstituted as something else every second. I mean, every tick of the clock, every moment that goes by, we are a different person. And you could say that we're under the illusion of being the same one, and we're definitely something similar. I mean, even every copy of our DNA isn't perfect, and certainly when we reproduce, it's not maintained. So there's a whole bunch of vagaries in that, but that's something interesting to think about, that as beings we are highly transitional. It's not just one of those things like the next moment that comes along, the previous moment is gone. It's also that physically, the next moment that comes along, our form in our previous moment is gone. It's not the same. It's me from a billionth of a second ago does not equal me, the next billionth of a second later. So it might be, yeah, although it might be something similar, it's not even the same molecules. Especially oxygen. I mean, sheesh, I'm burning so much of that right now. So, just some stuff to munch your brain on. So, Animals in Translation by Temple Grandin. She does some great stuff having to do with archaeological finds, especially involving humans and wolves. So, check it out.